Right, we're good to go. All things West Ham back in the building. Dennis, you're back on, mate. How are we doing?
I'm good, mate. You?
Yeah, all good. Good to have you back on. And Bill, obviously from last week. Excited to get into things this week. A lot of transfer stuff coming up.
Yeah, and especially after a win on Sunday, mate, definitely.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that first. We'll talk about Newcastle because obviously I haven't spoke to you lads about that game. Mixed, wasn't it? Really, first half, I kind of head in the hands at some of the defending. Is there? We'll have to get into Craig Dawson. I've got to be completely honest. In my post match, I said that he was getting done up a fair bit. Dennis, is this the reason why West Ham are in the market for centre back?
I think so. I remember saying it. We were on the stream with on Bill's channel, and yeah, I mean, I can definitely see why centre back is the priority over striker in Moyes' mind. Even if we do have concerns over the centre forward position, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. Defensively, we're pretty much all over the shop. I remember saying when he saw the lineups, it was Bonner's in there for the experience because to Marshall Dawson because Dawson and Diop. Dawson's then going to have to be the leader out of the two. Bonner didn't necessarily cover himself in glory, but he is coming back from an injury. He didn't get as many minutes in pre-season, but I do definitely see why centre back is being coveted by David Moyes. We've lost Balbuena as cover as well as Alves, so Cresswell can only play in a centre back at a back three along with Kufal.
Yeah.
So really, you've only got if you're going to play a flat back four, you've got three centre backs, and Dawson. Yeah, he had good form when he came in, but we saw last season and we saw it. I think he is a liability at times. Let's be real here. So completely get that and
I
hope
think
we
that's
get one over the line.
I think that's why that goal was frustrating because when obviously he got sent off last year at St James's Park, you look at the position on the pitch; he was very high up, and I could understand him panicking. But when you're in your own box, and he has got this tendency, Bill, of letting players run across him. He did it a little bit. I can't remember. I think it was Everton at home, and it was either Calvert Lewin or Richarlison that did the same. But he has to do better there. I don't even think it's about him being quick or athletic. I just worry about him not being able to read the striker around him. And we've obviously got Jamie Vardy on Monday, and you see the type of goal that he scored against Wolves. There is a natural concern there.
Yeah, and I think Dennis is right. I think I think Bonner and Dawson got better in the second half. Actually, to be honest. But yeah, first half, I think all at sea. And obviously, I think Moyes clearly doesn't rate Diop because he's had to rush Bonner back because he hasn't barely had any training, and he obviously got injured in the Celtic pre-season game. So to rush him back for the first game of the season, he's clearly worried. And Dawson's due a bad game. He's not going to be Franz Beckenbauer every game, is he? So, but as I say, he improved in the second half along with the whole team. But I think it's not a surprise that David Moyes is in for a centre back. Every time the ball went in the box, you feared in the first half, but as I say, we all improved in the second half, and I think Lucas Fabianski had a much more solid game than he did in the fixture last season.
God, not half, mate. That's bring back some memories. What do we think about the Leicester game in terms of that centre back pairing? Because, like you both said, Dawson and Ogbonna together typically have a better relationship. Do you maybe chance your arm on bringing in Issa Diop, or would you just keep the same back four?
I mean, for me, and gonna maybe open up a can of worms here, but a back three worked pretty well away from home.
I have thought about that, Dennis.
I'm thinking slot Cresswell in, start Ben Johnson, get some attacking, but then you lose that Cresswell out ball on the left, which was brilliant for us first half. Second half, obviously things changed a little bit, but first half that was our main attacking outlet, and he managed to snib him a pretty cheeky goal first half. But I'm thinking maybe five at the back, slot Cresswell in. You can still bring Diop in for Dawson if you're not too comfortable with Dawson, but Dawson in a back three, there's a little bit less pressure on him because he'll have two other people to cover. That's the way that's the way I would think about it. But then who do you take out of the midfield? Anyone being dropped is going to be harsh after Sunday because I think everyone except for our centre backs had a pretty decent game. So I mean personally, I'm not one to drop someone that's relatively a starter off the back of a couple of mistakes in the first half of the opening game of the season. So if we are going to go flat back four, I wouldn't drop Dawson, but he needs to buck his ideas up this game, personally.
I'd have to agree. It probably isn't the best thing to go and change. I just wanted to see whether you two thought you maybe chance to run with Diop. It does seem a bit more of a. We do actually centre back is an area that we do need to address, and even now it's not even about squad depth because squad depth it has become an issue given the fact that Alves has gone out, given that Ogbonna was injured. There are massive issues there. Balbuena obviously left as a free agent. We've been linked with Kurt Zouma. Come to Bill. Bill, you said beforehand that you have a bit of an opinion out of him. From what I understand, obviously we've moved away from Milenkovic for whatever reason. Apparently, again, the agent thing was rumoured, but apparently David Moyes may be looking at more Premier League experience. Is that fair from David Moyes in terms of making that decision and backing someone that's done it in the Premier League before?
Yeah, I think obviously you've got to be wary when you buy players from some of the top clubs. You think they're getting rid of them for a reason, but obviously it's worked out with Lingard. That's thrown that out the water, and I think it might have a similar effect if we do get Kurt Zouma. I think he's at a good age. He's not past it for a last sort of wage pay packer and even that nonsense. He's 26, and he needs to be playing regularly week in, week out in the Premier League. So he's obviously had experience at Chelsea and on loan at Everton and Stoke as well. So he's played enough games. And the thing about Zouma is he actually doesn't make a lot of mistakes. If you go on the Premier League's official website, he's only made 2 errors leading to a goal in his whole Premier League career, which I think is pretty good going. I think the only thing about Zouma that maybe why he's not been a regular at Chelsea is maybe he ball watches at times. His position is a bit can be a bit loose at times, but I think similar to Diop, I think he's he's certainly got the potential to be an outstanding player. So I'm not too against us going for him, especially with the fee that's been talked about. I think that's fairly reasonable, to be honest, in comparison to say Ben White. We'd get Zouma for half that. I think that's
Zuma's not going to get bullied like that, is he?
Yeah,
let's be honest.
Exactly. And so I think it'd be a smart deal if we get 20, 25 mil. I think that's pretty solid, to be honest.
I'm always a bit dubious about. Go on, Dennis.
I was going to say I do have some stuff to say about Zouma. Just obviously, I say it with the question of I haven't seen him play that regularly, but he fits the bill when it comes to goal scoring threats in the box, which we do like. To pile the box full of our centre backs, so he's definitely would fit that similar build to what Dawson and Diop do for us, and Ogbonna. I remember he had a big injury in I believe the 15-16 season, but when he signed for them in 2014 in Mourinho's second transfer window, he was I think Mourinho tipped him to be the second coming of Desai. He was very hotly tipped. It's just for me, it's whether he can adapt to being in a more leadership role at the back, because the big thing I say with the centre backs is that Bonner is the only one of them that can really lead that we've got. We can't really afford to have someone that comes in for all the ability of the world that then cannot pick up the defence by the scruff of the neck if Bonner's not playing. That's one of the main reasons why I quite like Milenkovic, because he's from what I have seen of him, he was very vocal, very, very dominant. He dominated the rest of his defence. So if Zouma can maybe grow at West Ham and become a leader, it's a fantastic signing. I think when you put it in the context of half the amount of Ben White, makes it sound a lot more appealing, depending on the wages and stuff. For me, I doubt it's ever going to happen because it's a player that costs money. And Gary Cahill is available for free. So I've been tweeting for a joke, but genuinely, it would not surprise me if we get Gary Cahill holding a West Ham scarf on a free transfer after deadline day as a free agent, because that's our old party trick, signing players for free after the window closed. We used to do it all the time, just before Sullivan and Gold took over, So I just think because of the money involved, I don't really see it happening unless it's some silly structured deal where we pay $4 million a year for 10 years.
Or it depends on how much Zouma wants to come, because again we've seen with the Milenkovic situation, it's a case of we have been dilly-dallying with that, and again if Zouma wants to force, and look, I think he does want to come to West Ham, which again is a head start really. You want a player that wants to come and play for the club, that's important.
The way I see it differently, Corey, is that he's an injury away from starting in a team that's going to be challenging for the title and retaining a Champions League. If he goes in and has a good run of games, he could cement that spot alongside Christensen or
I don't think he will. I don't think he will. I don't think he's good enough. This is why I think the move to West Ham would suit him more than Chelsea, because we know what he is. He's aggressive. He'll win the ball in the air. He's good in the air defensively. Offensively, he scores from set pieces, which is a massive thing for us. Tuchel, for me, he feels very black and white on the players that he likes. I know he's played around with Zouma, but Zouma played in a back three. I think it was against Southampton, and Minamino got past him in position he was off. And I think it suits him better to be at West Ham. And I just don't think... I think Chelsea as well will be looking to recoup a little bit of that money and maybe spend it elsewhere. I'm not sure how far they'll go. Obviously, they've brought Lukaku now, and I know they're looking at a defensive midfielder. So
Chelsea need to offload a lot of players as well.
Exactly.
They've still got the likes of Batshuayi, Drinkwater's still there. Obviously Zouma, I think a couple others.
There we are.
They need to get rid of a few.
We get Zouma on a structured deal and get Batshuayi and Drinkwater on loan, and that's our squad depth sorted.
Batshuayi's already gone on loan. I think he's gone to Turkey today. Yeah. And they
fair enough.
Put him up to a new deal for whatever reason. He's kind of wasting his career. So you're right, Dennis. I mean, look, I think he's a good player. I do think he's a good player. Again, the problem is with this debate is I haven't seen enough of Milenkovic, so the comparison there is probably not fair. You know, obviously you had the Euro expert on about 2 weeks ago, and you speak to other people and they rate him highly, and I'm sure he's a top defender. But there is something in Moyes looking at experience, and Dennis, you said about leadership at the back. Quite rightly, Ogbonna is really the only player that feels he commands those two centre backs at times. Every time he's in the side, we look 10 times better. We look 10 times more organised. Take Sunday out of it, obviously, with St. Maximin. He's a bit of an anomaly. But I wonder whether with Zuma's age, he's 26, you know, Bonner feels going to be at the club for probably 2-3 years. He'll be coming into his prime probably by the time Bonner leaves. So there is a potential there for Zouma maybe to be more of a leader.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, I'd rather have Zouma than Phil Jones, I'll tell you that much.
I'd rather Gary Cahill than Phil Jones.
Yeah.
At 5'6", I'd rather play me. Okay. That is a bridge too far, but
that's what we mean, Corey. There's certain players from the top clubs where you just need to avoid, like the plague. But you know, some who are good enough for the rest of the league.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you look at Chelsea's squad, how competitive it is, not getting in the first 11. So that's a little bit. You look at Phil Jones as well. It's not just his ability. It's not just that. The fact. Look how injury prone he is as well. I can't remember the last time he's been fit for them. He's not even got near the squad.
I mean, said before, I've got a mate of mine who seems obsessed with the idea of Phil Jones playing for West Ham and I quote, replacing Declan Rice. Yet, read into that.
He probably needs to
shows how much this person pays attention to West Ham.
Needs to get new friends, Dennis.
Yeah, it's also the fact that, like, one thing, one United fan on Twitter was like, "Oh, well, Man United haven't conceded a goal. Or Phil Jones hasn't conceded a goal for nearly 2 years." I'm like, he hasn't played for nearly 2 years.
Yeah, it's played for like 18 months or whatever it is.
I'm pretty certain he hasn't played since lockdown. Like, I'm not even joking. He hasn't played.
I think even before then,
Like, football since lockdown. He hasn't. I've read something that he hasn't played football in 19 months.
Yeah.
That's a huge concern.
Well, no one's seen him. Apparently, he's still got the number 4 that he wouldn't give to Varane. Unbelievable.
Oh, no, I said so. I'd much prefer Gary Cahill. I mean, I read some stuff that we're linked with. I can't remember his name. Villa's third choice centre back.
Oh, Courtney Hawes.
That's the one. He was on our youth books. Much prefer him to Phil Jones, but I don't think he's the answer personally. If we're on par with Villa. If you're struggling to get in the Villa side,
I actually don't think that would be a bad option.
It wouldn't be a bad option at all. However, it's not on the same level. I personally think Zouma would be a lot more appealing. I was always team Milenkovic or Kaletakar at Marseille, but they cost money. Zouma costs money. I'm assuming Courtney Hawes will cost money, so we will end up with Gary Cahill or Phil Jones.
I do think it's interesting trying to suss Moyes' psyche on signings. Do you know what I mean? Because Milenkovic
Moyes ain't the problem.
Well, I mean, he's not in terms of paying the money, and if obviously you don't pay 25 million, that of course that's on the board. But allegedly he pulled out. He wasn't too sure on him, so I don't know what the situation is.
He's never going to be too certain on a player that's never played in the Premier League and he's probably only seen a few times. He definitely would have seen Zouma a lot more than he's seen Milenkovic, so he's probably more sure on Zouma. But I think Moyes could have pushed and Milenkovic could have been his number one signing. We were never going to get that deal over the line because of the agent and other issues and stuff like that. So Yeah.
Maybe. Do you know what? I actually think the reason if Zouma doesn't join, it will be more down to it will break down in the wages. I think. But again,
Possibly.
look, this window's been mad. I don't know how much money we've got, if we've got any money. I don't feel like we do. And the more this rumbles on, we are looking at loans. With that being said, there is one man that does seem to get a lot of interest from West Ham. That is, of course, Jesse Lingard, and we'll have to talk about him. He will be in the thumbnail. Look, I don't know how you lot feel about this. I will talk about Dennis's. You know, you were a shining beacon of how good Jesse Lingard was going to be for West Ham. So we'll talk to you, but I kind of set it aside. I kind of just put it to bed and said, "That's it." You know, he's made his choice. He's at Man United, and now you hear that obviously he's looking to move, or he knows that he's not going to get a chance at Manchester United. Dennis, clearly welcoming back with open arms. I just want to talk to you a little bit. That we've kind of covered. You wouldn't welcome him back? You wouldn't have him back?
I'm saying that for a joke. Don't worry.
Oh, I was like, we can go down that route. But obviously, the emergence of Benrahma, and what I will say before I go into this, it's not about either or. By the way, I think any bit of squad depth and bit of quality naturally you would take. Where do you sort of fit in on this? Do you think that if Lingard did come to the club, he would have to play number 10 where he played last season, or do you feel that he should maybe look to possibly play on the left-hand side instead?
It really depends, to be honest. There's lots of variables in this. I mean, for example, last time Lingard came in on loan with a point to prove. If he signs permanently on a contract for decent money, I'm not saying that he's not, but it's not like he's hungry and raring to go. He came to West Ham to really prove a point and show that I am good. I am that good. It's just I haven't been given the chance to shine. I haven't been given a consistent run of games. So that's one thing to bear in mind. The other one is we're going to be playing a lot more games, especially if we hopefully get out. We're aiming at minimum get out of the group stage Europa League, really, aren't we? That's our aim. Whether it happens or not depends on the draw. But that means that's a guaranteed 9 extra games. And if we get out of the group stage, guaranteed 11 extra games. Unless we go out the first round of each cup, which we really hope we don't, but that has been us recently. Or early rounds. We're looking at a minimum 55 game season minimum based on that. So any bit of squad depth, it doesn't matter where Lingard plays on the pitch, he's going to get at least 30 odd starts because Lingard, as I Fornells, Benrahma, Bowen are not going to start every game. They're going to pick up and he's going to get knocks and he needs to be rested. So I'm not too concerned about Lingard, being a detriment to Benrahma. It's just whether Moyes sees him as the preference to Benrahma, because I think Benrahma deserves to have that nailed down start with the pre-season he's had and his game against Newcastle. I don't think Lingard walks into the team like he did last time, even though we were down to the bare bones. I'd be more interested to see how much we pay for Lingard, because we keep getting told we've got no money, but suddenly we've got the money to pay for Jesse Lingard. It shows that we were deliberately lowballing, but I think this was the long-term game. I think Moyes always knew that he wasn't going to get the time at Man United and thought, well, we'll approach him at the end of the window. But my main concern is how much we pay for him. Not because I don't think he's worth it, but it'll be very interesting if we get a deal done that suddenly we agree 30 million. And could it be that we've turned around and said, actually, we'll give you 10, but we give you first dibs on Declan Rice next summer? Or we agree a lower fee for Declan Rice next summer or something like that. That's another concern for me in that, Gold, Sullivan and Brady they always are very short-sighted in the transfer window, aren't they?
They are. I mean, we can talk about what kind of price you would go up for Jesse Lingard. How much would you be willing to pay, Bill?
No more than 30.
Fair.
No more considering his age.
Yeah.
Considering his age, last year contract, I'll be honest with you, I'll be saying 20.
I'm looking at
maybe 25 if it's that nothing, maybe 25, but I think 30 is definitely over the odds.
Yeah, my opinion's actually kind of varied on it, because of some of his performances last season, I thought a player like that, if someone said you can have him for 25, you bite the hand off, and then you actually look at the contract situation and you think this guy's going to be free in a year. And Man United, I think, I'm not saying they need to sell, but you look at how they're kind of moving in the market, they may want to sell to bring in a defensive midfielder, and then that would really benefit us. I think 20 million for Lingard is probably as high as I would go. And I think as well, like in terms of value, what he could be worth to West Ham across the course of the season, I think he could be worth even more come the end of the season. But I think it's on the off. I think he's on the off, if I'm honest. It was a silly decision for me, even for him to kind of stay at Man United. Obviously, he's got the pull with the academy and he's been there and he's a United boy. But I think anyone would tell you, football-wise, that he needs to move. Do you know what I mean? He's got to play.
There's also talk of him going Leicester, mate.
Well, exactly. And the thing is with that, I'm not convinced that will happen. But if Maddison had left Leicester, which I don't think he will now, Odegaard's gone to Arsenal, they could have just come in, and we know how good they are with their business. They just would have pinched him straight away. There would have been no discussion there whatsoever.
Vestergaard 2.0.
Yeah. What do we feel about that? Vestergaard going to
£15 million. We should have been in for him, in my opinion.
Yeah. So like, back three, played in the back two as well.
Threat in the area. Good on the
ball.
ball.
Lovely passing range as well.
Yeah.
Really varied passing.
Exactly the type of defender we wanted. Just I always thought he wouldn't be available. I thought Southampton would be, after Ings, would be holding on to every available asset so they don't plummet further down the table. But it turns out he was available and cheap, a lot cheaper than I thought.
Yeah. Nah. It is.
I think Corey's
It's difficult when a bargain price. It's been really odd to see. I think he'd go with some of their top players. I'm still here. I'm still in the background. You hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, hang on.
You're frozen. It's
had a right mirror.
It's a pretty good drunk face you got there, to be honest.
But yeah, I think just on Lingard, I think any chance you get to get a player of that quality, as shown last season, we've got to take it. Would have been nice to obviously get him earlier in the window, but better late than never. And don't forget, he's got a point to prove with England because obviously he didn't get in the Euro squad, and the World Cup's only next year, isn't it? Yeah. So it needs to be played. He has to play. So if he plays, for a calendar year and a bit more, it's November next year, and at the World Cup. So he's got to give himself every opportunity. So and that's the thing. As Dennis says, not all our attacking players, especially Antonio, is going to be fit the whole season. So he'll have enough game time. It's a different conversation. So when he was first linked with us in January, I thought, well, where's he going to play? Whereas hook or by crook, you make room for him in some capacity.
Exactly. And I think it's interesting because I don't really advocate for him being the striker option, okay? But let's play devil's advocate if Antonio was injured and you had Bowen, Fornals, Benrahma, Lingard. The way that we play in those counter-attacks, that would, in theory, work. So I do... Him as a player, I think he suits us. You look at the different positions that he can play. It is a real no-brainer from me. And I hope we get him back by the end of the window. And again, I hope he's true to say that he does want to come back to West Ham.
Well, he hasn't ruled it out. I think him and his agent had an interview with Jamie Redknapp for the Daily Mail recently. He didn't rule it out. And I think his agent put something on Instagram with a story, someone's story, and he put an alarm clock after I think a West Ham fan responded to him. So watch his space, basically.
Yeah, don't go to
Randolph put something on Instagram.
Oh, Randolph did as well. Yeah.
Being senior in Chadwell Heath soon, but that's probably off the back of the interview. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, if you see him coming in as a false nine, who would you rather up top? Would you rather? I've lost his name off the top of my head. Yarmolenko up top, or would you rather Lingard? I'd much rather Lingard.
Well, Lingard, yeah.
I don't even want to answer.
I mean, there's talk of Bowen going up top, but the thing for me is, although he's all right finishing, he doesn't quite have the pace. I mean, it's just not. Bowen up top doesn't quite work, sadly.
Do you know what? I want to talk to you two about Jared Bowen because there was a bit on Sunday where he beat about 4 players.
And it was Maradona-esque. It was.
Well, my mate actually called him Jaredona.
But do you know what?
I told you that on the stream, Phil.
Yeah.
He's not. Bowen is really not far off bagging serious goals. He always gets.
He just needs a little bit more pace, and he'd be a top.
I think he needs a little bit. He needs a little bit more composure. It's when he's one.
Yeah, I agree with Corey. Yeah, I agree, mate. Yeah, well, don't forget he's still very, very new to this level. Very, do you know what I mean? So
he's only about a year and a half, and
yeah, exactly.
And also little honorable mention, I think don't want to go on too much of a tangent, but penalties. He used to take penalties for Hull. I'd have him or Soucek because our regular penalty taker personally.
Do you know what? When Mickey stepped up for that pen, I thought.
It went Old Trafford with no fans in. It's Newcastle fans at St James's Park. It's a bit different.
People, I knew people would. I was literally going to say that obviously Mark Noble let him take that one, but I never thought when he stepped up that it's a good job. Soucek was on his bike the minute.
Oh, he was Usain Bolt reflexes.
Yeah, Soucek used to take him for Slavia, and Bowen used to take him for Hull. And I'd put him on penalties if you don't trust Deck. Like, 'cause I think Deck was being groomed as a penalty taker, but then he missed that one against West Brom.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough, isn't it, lads? Obviously, Nobles is going, and he's obviously not playing regularly. And I was thinking when we went up for that, I was like, if Noble's on, I know.
Well, I was saying get Noble on, get Noble stripped off,
like
get him on.
NFL style.
Yeah, if we have like roll on subs, we could just bring Noble on for the penalty and then just take him off. Like,
he never retire, mate. We never get rid of him.
We'd have a triple testimonial, let alone double testimonial.
Yeah. But what about Aaron Cresswell? He's got a left peg on him. Did you look at him?
I've never seen him take a penalty before.
He's got a good strike, though. I mean,
this is
three lads trying to break down pens. Yeah. They've got no idea what we're talking about.
There's a big difference.
I'm not joining in on this.
Well, you could take him.
Yeah. I think just quickly on the obviously even before the penalty against Newcastle. I mean, I think we were talking about obviously Declan Rice earlier. I think his tackle on St. Maximin, which led to Benrahma's goal, I think that completely changed the game.
It did. Yeah.
No doubt whatsoever. I mean, he obviously was brilliant. St. Maximin in the first half got the assist obviously for Wilson's goal. Ran the show, was dropping deep, and they had the touch maps on Sky. It was literally there was no gaps in where it was incredible, amazing first half, and then Rice obviously nicked the ball from him in their half, and we went on and Benrahma scored, and he had some moments, but he just wasn't in the game after that, and obviously we scored 2 more after that as well. So that 30-minute spell was unreal, and it started for me with that unbelievable tackle we put in.
It's so interesting, like the minute, because I didn't think St. Maximin would start. I knew he was on the bench in their last pre-season game, and I thought ifs and buts, but he always is fit for West Ham, and the way that Bruce uses him, and again I said in my post-match, I'm not too keen to give Bruce any real credit, but because he's a player that can literally drift into it, and at times he was dropping so deep, I just felt that...
was he on the halfway line? Was that next to Shelvey?
At a time, I think particularly Declan and Souček, they just didn't know, do we go and press him a little bit higher? And then second half, I think as a team we made a decision to press higher, and then he just got caught out. And then the minute, I think obviously Newcastle started chasing the game, he was playing a little bit further forward, and then they couldn't really progress the ball enough.
I think what actually helped us as well was Shelvey going. I know it's a West Ham channel, but I think Shelvey going off.
Yeah.
Didn't I know there were a few. Obviously, they were behind when he took off, but some of his balls in the first half were absolutely unbelievable. Obviously, me and Dennis said that on the stream.
No ideas after we went off. Like there was no creativity, no nothing after we went off, and ASM was gassed by that point. So he wasn't going to do any more running because he had his hands on his knees, knackered after Declan Rice took him out of the game. And several journalists have pointed out that Declan Rice completely changed the game. But everyone's going to focus on that one thing.
I was surprised.
5 minutes in.
In a way, I know obviously with journalists and Sky Sports or whatever that it's the easy thing to go. And listen, I'm not saying Antonio played bad. Of course, he was so influential in a lot of those goals. But for me, second half, I said Declan Rice is unlucky not to be in consideration for that because it wasn't for me just him. We know he can be a bit more progressive. We know he can go and win the ball higher up. But when he was getting on the ball, he was taking his time. He was driving. He was in that final third. And I think that's what we're going to see from him a lot more this season. We know him as a player. But I think development-wise, he was on Soccer AM the other day talking about being a number 8. That's what you've got to do, mate. And it gives us just another dimension.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, in terms of the man of the match, it showed how well we play, especially that second half where you could have put 3 or 4 of our players, given them the award, and you wouldn't have begrudged them. Obviously, Antonio was outstanding. Benrahma, Rice, as we've said. Mm-hmm. I thought Bowen got better 4 nails. Do you know what I mean? The defence got better in the second half. So, any of the attacking players, you wouldn't have begrudged them at all.
Definitely. And the only real concern I had at the time of the game was the amount of time the players were on the pitch. I mean, the game was near enough dead by the 85th minute. Rest their legs. Don't take them off in stoppage time. This is why we pick up injuries. We've got such a thin squad. You need to bring people on for a 20-minute run out. Like, rest Mickey's legs. We're 4-2 up. We don't need to score another goal. We just don't need to concede. Bring Yarmolenko on and drop him deep. Or go full Angus and play Ryan Fredericks up top.
I think that's again that just highlights even the concerns with the squad depth. Moyes, that game was such an odd game because I think Newcastle, the way that they played, caught me completely off guard and probably caught West Ham off guard. I didn't expect them to play how they did in that first half. And then there was only really a period, I think, probably from the 75th minute, where we tried to take the sting out of the game. Other than that, the game was just constantly flowing forward and back and defending and offensively. So it's a tough game to manage. So I guess from that point of view, I don't know whether Moyes thought, I can't really play a certain player here, but it does sort of worry me a little bit with Declan Rice. He pulled up with cramp and he's played all those games for England, and you kind of feel he does need that rest, particularly with the sort of role that he's taking this season of being a little bit more progressive on the ball.
Yeah, definitely.
Top stuff, lads. Right. let's talk Benny. Let's talk Benny quickly. I know we've sort of spoken about him briefly. Much better in pre-season. I've got to concede. Don't matter whatever side you fall on it, we all want him to do well. That's a fact, right? And he just wasn't consistent enough last season. I don't know about you, but the difference for me this season, even in the pre-season so far, is the movement he makes in beyond. Because a lot of the times he was isolated and he would just stay on the left-hand side. But you see for the goal with the header, which was unbelievable. Benrahma got a header. He's in the box. So he is learning. How much hope do we have of Benrahma here starting to chalk up? Because I feel that him, Fornals and Bowen this season, I think they're going to get a lot of goals. I think we're honestly going to be a really attacking threat.
Yeah, I'm expecting big things from Benrahma. I think I've said it before, but the Brighton goal at the end of last season, I think, really spurred him on to have an excellent pre-season, and he carried it on. He was outstanding against Newcastle, and I think what we saw in the game Sunday, but obviously that Atlanta game, which we all went to. He was drifting into pockets in that number 10 role. He was drifting out wide. He was all over the shop and had a bit of a free role, which really suits him with his, his close control and his bit of trickery and agility to get past players. And obviously, you've seen the quality with his shots and his crossings. So now I'm expecting big things from him this season, no doubt.
What do we think of the pass, Dennis, for Antonio's goal, the fourth? It was a brilliant pass.
Yeah.
That's what he wasn't doing last season. He was misplacing passes.
And he wasn't getting Charles loves to mention. We always see Charles isn't on the show. It's his turn to be put on blast because he's not here to defend.
Go on, dig him out.
So I hadn't seen much of Benrahma before he signed. I had a friend who was a season ticket holder at Brentford who told me this, that, and the other, and I said, "Look, it's not." And I said, "You can go back to the video. I said it several times. This is not the views of me. This is what my friend has told me. These are the concerns. This is why actually my preference would be for Eze, who hit the ground running at Palace." So
it's a fair point. It's a fair point.
But with Benrahma, is the number one thing is that Moyes clearly now trusts him. He's clearly worked on something. He's done something in training to show Moyes that you can trust him. Now, I don't believe it's out of necessity, because if Moyes still didn't trust him, hey, look at Diop, look at other players, he wouldn't play them. He would have gone 5 at the back or something, slotted Cresswell there, put Ben Johnson there, and just kept him on the bench as an option, and had, Fornells and Bowen out wide with no number 10 if he didn't trust him. Moyes is not the player to play someone for the sake of playing them. With the exception of, when Haller was out of form, he played him because he had literally nobody else. But yeah, so something's different has happened with Benrahma. I mean, we saw it, admittedly, it was a friendly, but against Atlantia, that just the fight and desire to, drive forward.
And the confidence, Dennis. I mean, I mean, he's not looked unconfident at times last season, but it elevates it to a whole new level from what we've seen. So I hope it continues.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't so much I don't think he lacked confidence last season. I think, contrary, he just second-guessed a few times. It was the composure, it was the decision-making for that. Is he going to whip the ball in, or is he going to float it in? He ends up doing something, it goes out of play.
Maybe trying too hard, or overthinking, just rather than going on instincts.
Little diagonal passes where a simple 4-yard pass is the option and things like that. I think he's clearly shown something in training or in the preseason. And because now Moyes now has the confidence in him, he's now instilling confidence in Benrahma. And that's why I think that if we sign Lingard, we can't, I think Lingard's going to get plenty of games. I think there's going to be games where Benrahma either switches out left or gets put to the bench or whatever. But what I don't want is, okay, I've got Lingard now. Benny, you're on the bench again, lad. Like that Brighton game, which is before we got Lingard, where Benrahma was warming up for ages. We equalise, and then he tells him to sit down. Sit down, shoves him back down to the ground. not going to pinch him to the ground, but send him back to the stands and things like that. I don't want a return to
Yeah,
that.
not
I don't
that
think
aggressive.
I don't think Benrahma should, make way for Lingard if Lingard signs. Personally, I think Benrahma's been our best player over the 2 games that I've seen West Ham play this. So Atlanta and Newcastle, Benrahma's been our best player over those 2 games.
Yeah, and I think I don't think it was fully confidence, but I think you are right, Bill, in terms of him not being confident. I think was influences his decision making, and he was taking too many touches, and he wasn't being as effective as he needs to be. And just the way that we played in those counter attacks on Sunday, he was just making the right pass. And I know it kind of looks to play that pass maybe to Antonio, but I think they pulled it up on Match of the Day as well, where the right timing and the right weight of pass, and Antonio hasn't had to take an extra touch, just helps us out. I'm buzzing for him. I think we all knew he's got a quality player, and I didn't feel that he could blend into this side. But there has been something that's clicked in pre-season. It could just be pre-season. It could literally just him being with the squad in pre-season, playing a lot of games, and he has started to understand because look, he came from a Brentford side where he was given the ball, he played on the left-hand side, they're 4-3-3. We know how brilliant some of their football is, and he has to change, and he works hard off the ball. And he looks effective now. So I think it can only benefit us. And you add Lingard to that. I think their link-up would interest me as well. Because I do think they'll have a good relationship in terms of how they'll play.
No, absolutely. It's a great headache to have. And it's the same with any player, regardless if you're an attacker or a defender. If you're in and out of the side, it's impossible to play at your absolute best. And obviously Benrahma's got a run of games now, and maybe Moyes has said you're going to start more games, or we're going to build the side around you in a way. Obviously got Antonio and stuff, but you're going to be a focal point for us. Maybe that's helped as well.
Yeah, I'd love to see what's going on, but I've frozen. So, no, we've covered all the bases. Let's talk about Leicester as well. Us lot going there on Monday. It's a real test. Leicester still look quite a strong side. They've made some brilliant signings. Samara, obviously the guard earlier. Bill, how are we feeling about this type of game? Because again, we did the double over him last season, so we should be feeling relatively confident. Do you think a draw is fair enough for this game? I'm kind of looking at it thinking Leicester are a strong side, but then having said that, we did get a number of goals against Newcastle, so I feel that we could test them. What are your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, I think it'll be the same as the Newcastle. I think it'll be high scoring. I think you look at the attacking threat from both sides. Both defences are decent, but attacking wise, we've gone through the amount of attacking players that we've got, and they've got Perez, Maddison, Harvey Barnes, underrated, Vardy. Daka didn't even come on against Wolves. Iheanacho come on as a sub, so they've got a ridiculous amount of attacking threat, talented players. So, yeah, we weren't expecting much against Leicester, especially before the away game last season. We were beaten 3-0, probably our best performance of the season. Obviously, we built on that by doing the double over them as well. But obviously, it's totally different with fans and stuff. But I look. We should aim to obviously win every game, but I wouldn't be against a draw. But I think it'd be high scoring. I think.
I hope it's not for the sake of my heart. I think when you're in that, I think Dennis. Naturally, I just felt that I know we had our defensive problems. I think we are trying to get on the ball a little bit more, and it will leave us vulnerable. How do you think this game's won and lost? Is it a case of just trying to nullify the likes of Jamie Vardy and Harvey Barnes, or do you feel that West Ham have got to get on the ball and involve the pressure? Because they have got weaknesses defensively. They can get caught out with a high line. Amati, we caught him out last season. Do you think that's how West Ham win that game?
Yeah, but equally, Rodgers would have done his homework on how we play. I personally make a bold statement. I think this game's going to be won in moments, if not one moment. Do
you think it'll be tight?
It could be. We could win or lose 3-2, for example, and something could happen to make it go either way. Like, for example, it's 2-2. We still haven't made any subs. They're getting tired, and Leicester bring on Daka, and he comes on and turns our defender. It's 3-2 Leicester, for example. So there's lots of variables until you see the lineups, until you see how each team's set up. You're not really going to be able to, predict. In my opinion, it's quite an unpredictable fixture because last season we won 3-0. Other season we went 3-0 up, sat back, and nearly drew it. They nearly equalised in the last minute. Leicester have improved in summer. They've got a bit more quality up front with Daka as an option, and Iheanacho's come into a lot of good form. In fact, he was in peak of his form when we last played him. To tell you the truth, I'm not really sure.
What would you want from the game? I know it's easy just to go a win, but what would you say is kind of the minimal result? Would you be happy with a draw?
Again, really depends. I would have taken a draw at half time at the weekend. I said it on air on Bill's channel. I'd have taken a draw at half time because of how bad we were playing. If I'm honest, I want to win. Every game I want to go and watch West Ham win. Especially after the season we've had. However, definitely, not lose. So a draw would be against a team like Leicester, European pedigree, probably going to be challenging for top 4 again this year. Draw would be a decent result, so long as it's not like a terrible draw where we've played terrible, we played shocking, and they've given away a 96th minute penalty that we then miss and then score the tap in. Then that's a bad draw. But we can definitely win. I think we just need to keep attacking. We need to not sit back and just attack Leicester. That's what we did away. That's what we did the first half home. So if you attack them, you got more of a chance. But we could be caught on the counter at the same time.
That it's interesting you say that, because I felt like when we beat them 3-0 away from home, it was because we've been a bit more aggressive in trying to win the ball a bit higher up, and it kind of negates Leicester. I think Leicester arguably are a little bit more dangerous when you sit behind the ball a little bit. And you see second half, obviously, when we beat them 3-2, you gave them the ball and they started picking it up and working it, and it becomes a problem. And then you're defending in your own box. Granted, it was a completely different circumstance, and we had Bowen and Lingard up front. But I'm interested to see. I think it might work. We might be better than we were last season because of the way that we are starting to play. I wonder whether getting Declan Rice a little bit further forward, but they've got a very tasty midfield, if I'm honest. I think indeed he's very, very good. Tielemans as well. And Mickey will be a huge plus as well. We missed him last time out, despite getting the 3 goals. I think he causes them a little bit of a headache. Bill, score prediction, please, my friend. We did it last season, so we will continue.
We're going there, Desmond, 2-2.
And Dennis?
3-2 either way.
Wow.
3-2 either way. I think it's going to be a high score and exciting game. Proper Monday night football, mate.
I'm buzzing, lads. I've got to be honest.
It's the first Monday night football game, so it's either going to be totally dull or it's going to be a must see.
I think it'll be box office. I think we're 2 good teams. I like the way we've started the season. I think Leicester, the way they've started the season, we've almost feels like both sides have kind of continued their form. Take Leicester bottling the top 4 out of it, but in terms of their quality, we both feel like we're at that level where we are going to continue it through this season.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'd like to think it'd be much better than the last game we saw live against Leicester, which is Pellegrini's last game, which was an absolute shit show. No wonder he got sacked after that. So I'd like to think it'd be better than that game.
Come a long way.
We have. We generally have.
We lost that game 2-1, didn't we? 4-0 was his first goal.
Yeah, against Leicester's B team as well. It weren't even their full strength team.
They put out their second team, and we couldn't even muster any time. It's crazy, Bill. You are right. I mean, how different this team is compared to that team is it's chalk and cheese. And the best thing about this team is we actually improving. Like, it feels like, I know we're only working with a similar group of players, but even the way that we got that first goal against Newcastle, we were composed in possession. We broke them down. I wonder whether we've got another element to us this season where we are going to come up against sides that will sit behind the ball at times. And I feel like we've got a little bit more. And again, it might give us a couple more points and we might be in and around there.
That's the thing. I mean, that's what really encouraged me against Newcastle was, if you look at the game earlier this year, last season, where we had a lot of the ball, we didn't know what to do with it against Newcastle at St James's, where we had a lot more purpose and we knew what we were doing with the ball. So, there were times, obviously, we were on the counter and relied on that for goals, but in terms of patterns of play and building through the thirds, we did it occasionally last season, but obviously not a lot. But obviously the game on Sunday was really encouraging from that point of view. So hopefully that, and obviously having Benrahma in that 10 role, I think that helps with that, doesn't it? So so that was encouraging. Obviously, hopefully that continues on Monday night against Leicester.
I hope so. I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be.
I'm buzzing for it.
Probably going to be a little bit tighter. I think Dennis is right. It's going to be a little bit tighter than we imagine. One more thing, because I just checked it. Antonio, He's obviously playing for Jamaica now. It's a shame we never really got to see him in an England shirt, because I do think shoving that guy on with 10 minutes to go in a World Cup or Euros would be frightening for some teams to try and manage. Dennis, do you want to lead into this one? Because you obviously brought it up. He's got a number of games that he's got to compete in, possibly now between, is it now and
eight games
December?
between now and Christmas, Jamaica have got. And like they're trying to get the World Cup, aren't they? They've got a team to build around him, like they've got Bailey and Ravel Morrison now, admittedly playing at the Championship, but still very good footballer.
Scored a great goal. Great goal.
Some of the teams they're going to be qualifying against are going to be players with that will have no Premier League players at all, or top flight players in most countries, you know. So they're really going to be gunning for it. And it's just, on top of that, I said before, we're going to play minimum 55 games. Then Mickey's also got potentially 8 more on top of it. He could have a 63 game season, realistically. You know, maybe a bit less if we get out, knocked the Europa League or knocked out first rounds of Cup and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So over 60 games. He barely managed 30 last season. Like,
it's worrying.
Yeah,
It
is very worrying, and it's just his hamstrings are just ticking time bombs.
Do you know what the problem is as well? And I'm not digging out Moyes at all. Moyes isn't the type of manager to take away players from a first team when he needs them. We even saw that on Sunday, the fact that he didn't make certain substitutes. He relies Mickey is so integral to the way that we play in that final third that's what would worry me more. I think it's going to be technically it's going to be on Jamaica to manage him. But like you say, Dennis, if he's kind of that you're building a team around him, they're not going to suddenly start substituting him when they're 1-0 up or 2-0 up at half time.
Yeah, or after 45
it doesn't
minutes.
matter. Just going, as long as it's going to be long flights.
Yeah.
You know, all the games are going to be played across the Atlantic, because all their qualifiers are going to be against neighbouring countries. You know, like he's going to be playing America. He's going to be playing, I don't know who else is in the group, but it's going to be like Mexico,
Panama,
Canada,
Costa Rica.
Panama, Costa Rica. Costa Rica looking a bit tasty this year. So I say that's a Mike Bassett reference. That's a Mike Bassett reference, Corey. Costa Rica looking a bit tasty this year. But yeah, so it's just, again, we don't need one striker. I've said before, we need two. Like, how many top half Premier League teams? They don't, with the exception of Spurs and City, they haven't just got 2 strikers, have they? We technically don't even have one, if you think about it. Antonio, I'll get slated for something, but he's a winger converted into a striker, right?
He is.
We've not got an out-and-out striker other than maybe Odubeku, who's a youth striker. He's only 18.
He's got a lovely goal the other day.
But absolutely mental. But we'll end up with Lingard or Oko Flex playing as like a false 9, or Yarmolenko, rather than go out and say, right, we need depth. I mean, the squad has been asset stripped to the point where if we sell one more first-team player, we are in a world of trouble.
I actually think at some point this season, I don't think we'll have fully addressed the squad depth. At some point this season, there will be I'm not saying we're going to implode, but I think we will struggle for a period of time with certain injuries. I think that's almost an inevitability. It's not like I doubt Moyes or even the players, but the pressure on these players, and you're talking about Antonio with the internationals, and there'll be other players as well. Souček, Soufal, Rice, they'll go off again. Fornals has kind of been in and around the Spanish squad or possibly called up.
Benrahma is going to go to the AFCON in January with Algeria.
Exactly. So there's so much pressure on them as players.
Diop is now declared for Morocco, so he will go to AFCON, and Masuaku, if he's back from his knee injury, will also go to AFCON. So that's 3 players down as well. 3 players that are first-team players as well.
Yeah, I mean, Moyes has to try, and I don't know how he's going to do it, because I don't feel that he's going to throw the Europa League. From what I just gather in terms of how he's talking about it, and it'd be horrible for us to see us completely throw that and just treat it as a day out. I'd like to see us compete, but he's going to have to manage the squad, and it could be the cups, could be the League Cup or the FA Cup, where he starts to play the youth team players. He did it, to be fair, last season up until Doncaster when we played United, but I just don't see what other choice he has. I can't see him trying to rest players in and around the Premier League, because I think that would be probably quite costly, if I'm honest.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah.
That was a cheery note, wasn't it, to it?
Yeah. Well, it's nice. At least we're talking about Europa League, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, I got my tickets today, actually, because they come out for the season ticket.
I need to get mine. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that, and that's 28th. I think it's been announced. So it's only 10 days until we find out who we're going to play and try and get an away day. We've got Frankfurt apparently kicking around. Dennis, you fancy that?
Frankfurt with a day trip to Mainz. Marseille with a day trip to Corsica. And,
God, can you imagine Marseille with Payet and all of that? That would be
Marseille
nuts.
hopefully we get them. Hopefully the away game is the first one, so it's still hopefully some nice-ish weather during the day as well. Southern France, happy days. Get battered 5-0, no one will care. I'm saying it'd be such a good day that even if we lose 5-0, it would still be like a great day out.
Yeah,
yeah.
Nah, that's a good point, mate. There's a cheery note. Don't worry, we're all going to Marseille apparently. Cheers everyone for watching this. Cheers, Dennis and Bill for coming. And obviously we'll be back next week, hopefully talking about a win over Leicester. We would have met up on the Monday, so again, once again, frequenting the old London Stadium and all of these surroundings. Maybe go Nando's before, lads. Are we going to do that or not? We owe it to ourselves.
Maybe, yeah.
We owe it to the Nando's story.
We owe it to the Nando's. Drop a like on the video if you did enjoy this. Put in the comment section what you'd like us to talk about next week. I'm sure as we're getting towards the end of the transfer window, that Gary Cahill, Phil Jones rumour will continue to circulate. And until next time, everybody, if my laptop could do it, take care. See you later.